Hey, welcome to Rock Club's album review of Kiss Destroyer. My name is Kevin Z, and I'm a lifelong musician and a music fan. I'd like to think I've gained some musical wisdom over my 50 years of listening, performing, and studying music from among my many favorite artists. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to my channel, as I intend to review another monumental album each week. So I grew up with classic rock like Zeppelin, Boston, and Kiss. Watched the new wave bands hit MTV and the show called Friday Night Videos back in the day. The evolution of the 80s alternative rock scene and metal, all of its evolutions through hair metal and such, and the rise of grunge. I'll give you my perspective on epic rock albums spanning across these years. So I hope I can pass some of this knowledge along to my daughters, Sky and Ava, whose playlists include tunes from my album collection and my first generation iPod, which had the round dial on it. They rated all those songs, so pretty great. Another inspiration has been my co-workers, Maya and Sarah, young gals who heard my playlist songs at work. Many of those tunes for the first time they ever heard them, and they commented how today's music had changed so much and how they thought maybe their generation can benefit from my knowledge of these artists and bands. So I'm reviewing artists' albums in their format order as their albums were originally released. So they're intended to be listened that way. So keep in mind, these are my opinions. Feel free to agree or disagree. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. So let's begin. Kiss Destroyer was released in March 15th of 1976, following the epic success of Kiss's double album, Alive, which catapulted them into stardom. Although it was Kiss's actually their fourth studio album, they had released 3 prior to that. They didn't really sell exceptionally well until Kiss Alive came along and really got the ball rolling. And so I first heard, this was the first Kiss album I ever heard. My older sister brought this home straight from the record store when I was 7 years old, and I saw the cover and I thought, these guys are superheroes. You know, I was reading my Marvel comics, and here's this band of superheroes, and I was just amazed by the cover. And it had the inner sleeve had brilliant marketing to join the Kiss Army. Here it is right here, the inner sleeve. And you send away for $5 and get your ID card and all the other goodies. So I was immediately hooked. Obviously, I saved up my money and sent in right away. So this album was produced by Bob Ezrin. Some of you may know Bob Ezrin. Well, the Kiss and their management heard Alice Cooper's albums and were very amazed by that production, and they found out it was Bob Ezrin behind that, so they wanted him. They wanted to try this new, to go in a new avenue, and it's theatrical, right? And so that's what they did. Bob Ezrin, by the way, would later go on to produce, so many epic albums, one of them namely being Pink Floyd, The Wall. So just these concept albums, right? So this is one of his masterpieces with that. So it opens Detroit Rock City, okay? That's the opener, and you're in this kitchen almost. It's like you hear the utensils jingling, and you hear this radio talking about radio program over the kitchen foreshadowing the death of a Pontiac, Michigan youth in an automobile accident. And then it switches to the sounds of a guy getting into a vehicle, or someone getting into a vehicle, firing up the engine, adjusting the radio, which is playing Kiss Rock and Roll All Night, right? And from the Alive 1 album, the engine's humming, and then the song begins, the intro to Detroit Rock City with the bass and rhythm guitars, epic. So becomes one of Kiss's biggest anthems and is played at every concert from that point on. It's a song that the fans quickly sang along with. this call and repeat motive, and the drum riff by Peter is exceptional, kind of a Purdy shuffle in a sense. Ezrin wrote the guitar solo on this duet. A lot of people don't know that. He sat Paul and Ace down and said, I've got the guitar solo for this, play it exactly note for note the way I've wrote it out, and they did it, and it all tied together for this epic solo. So it's the end of the song, it builds and builds, and the end is pure theater of the mind too, with the epic car crash scene in the original album. So, you know, as a young 7-year-old, you hear this for the first time, and suffice it to say, your mind is blown. So then right after Detroit Rock City, you hear Ace's feedback, his wall of feedback, which he's known for with his Gibson Les Paul, is just feeding into the intro of King of the Nighttime World. It is written by Paul. It tells the story of teenage angst and the power of youth, and again, another classic mainstay to all of their sets. That leads us to track 3 on the album, which is God of Thunder. Now, that was written by Paul, many of you, if you didn't know it, sung by Gene. And the intro to God of Thunder has these children's voices amongst it, and those are actually Bob Ezrin's kids that were in the studio at the time. So he put them to work and immortalized them as the children. You know, what are they standing under the feet of this guy? You're hearing this with the headset on, and you hear these children's voices talking and all these little comments, and are they standing at the feet of some giant, you know, the God of Thunder? So Gene would sing this song at every concert, and it was usually right after he would do his blood spitting routine, right? So when I saw them with the Dynasty tour, he flew to the rafters and sang the song up high in this scaffolding, you know, after being hoisted up and flying, you know, to that height. So pretty incredible show. So huge drum sound on this song, God of Thunder. I've read that they recorded it in an elevator shaft, the drums, and got the delay of it, of the big booming sound. They just had Peter play in an elevator shaft at the recording studio. So anyway, just a fantastic song, which leads into track 4, which is Great Expectations, written and sung by Gene Simmons. It has quite an orchestral arrangement, again put together by Bob Ezrin. It tells the story of fans falling for each member of the band, a relationship between the band and fans, a more wholesome one than what we'll find out, you know, in albums to come, i.e. Ladies' Room on Rock and Roll Over, but I digress. Side 2 starts with an epic Flaming Youth track written and sung by Paul. It's another song about teenagers and their trials and tribulations, and that they have the power to change things. And it's got these carnival-like keyboard sounds which were added by Bob Ezrin, which are really adds to it. The theater of the mind, just a great song. So then that's followed up on track 2 on side 2. Is Sweet Pain, another Gene Simmons epic, in which it's written and sung by Gene. It's a very underrated song off this album. It has big drums, and you know, Gene certainly singing about his S&M and what Gene was into at the time, with a quote of "My whip is always beside me," unquote. Ezrin adds like these female background singers to give it kind of a soul feel too. So another total turn from what they've done, you know, out of their first 3 albums. You know, this production is huge. It's encompassing a lot of new things. So, which leads to the anthem, 3rd track on side 2, Shout It Out Loud, Destroyer's attempt at another radio hit like Rock and Roll All Night was on their Dressed to Kill album. The anthem song that fans can sing along with, and did for years to follow. You know, they played this song at every one of their concerts. It's a call to action, with Paul and Gene trading off singing their verses, and then all 4 sing harmony in the choruses. So Gene had said that they wanted to be like a hard rock version of the Beatles when they started out, and that, you know, with this song, I think they really achieve it. The next song on the album, the surprise at the time, but one of their #1 hits of all time. Of course, I'm talking about Beth. The track was originally a song that Peter had rough sketched, and he entitled it Beck. But Bob Ezrin said, hey, let's change the name to Beth. Let's kind of get some verses and a chorus together on this. And he added the whole orchestra. This song would catapult, well, it would win them a People's Choice Award the following year, and really cemented Peter's spot as a teenage heartthrob, but really brought, you know, a female fan base to Kiss with this song, which, you know, it's a love song. So I used to imagine singing this song to a girl named Beth in my elementary school back in the day when I was 7, 8 years old, but no luck, such it is. So finally, Do You Love Me, the last track on the song, written by Paul, another classic track that would be played at concerts for years to come. A bombastic drum intro. Peter says it's his favorite song, Kiss song of all time. Big power chords. It tells the story of Paul's girlfriend or girlfriends and what it's like to be a big rock star, which they had now all become. Following by it, the following of that song ends with this cacophony of sound that's included as like a choir singing the Great Expectations chorus, and Paul, you can hear him being his normal rock and roll reverend, you know, we're gonna have a rock and roll party, he says. So it's just, that's how the album fades out. So all in all, a fantastic Kiss album, very theatrical. Some rank it as their favorite Kiss album of all time. It's definitely in my top 3 Kiss albums of all time. So that's it. That's the review of Kiss Destroyer from Rokk Club. And be sure to check in again. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to check in again for another rock album review. Thanks again. Peace.